Hello, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Okay, great. Thanks. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another brand new episode of the Learning Series by Juno School of Business. Now, I'm sure by now you guys know that this is a platform wherein we help you to age your skills that will help your journey in the corporate world and, of course, make you better sales professionals. Now, having said that, we all know that sales is one of the most important careers one can undertake. And at Juno School, this is the endeavor that we want to shape better sales professionals for tomorrow. In fact, salespeople are the ones who generate revenue for every organization and, in fact, drive it for organizations across the globe. So it's a human desire that we all want to grow in life, now be it in the personal space or professional space. And technically, sales is more of a life skill because you are always selling yourself. Either it could be in a placement or a campus, or maybe selling your ideas to people in the personal space. So the better we sell, the more we grow in life. So the irony, if you see, is that sales is something that we're using across all the time. However, it is hardly taught in any school or college, right, in a structured format. So that's where Juno School comes in, wherein it's our endeavor to bridge this gap through interactive online sessions with industry experts, live activities, practice sessions. And of course, we've coupled this in an 8-week module with career guidance, which includes resumes, building mock interviews, and of course, offering you placement support. These webinars that we do are a routine feature, or I would call it a weekly feature, and you can be part of them every Saturday between 6 to 7. So if you want to gain insights on sales and you want to build a great sales career, make sure that you block your time every Saturday and be a part of these webinars. In case you want to know more about Juno School, you can always visit junoschool.org or can always schedule a chat with us at hello@junoschool.org. I can see some background disturbance. Let me mute that. Okay, great. Now let me welcome our industry expert for the day, Rohin. So Rohin is currently working as a business head with Swiggy. And in his corporate journey, he's worked with organizations like PhonePe, BigBasket, and Safe Harvest, sorry. In today's session, he will share his valuable insights on how to build and manage large sales teams. Now, I'm sure all of you being in the sales careers would eventually go and start building your own teams, or maybe you would be giving an existing team to handle. And that is one of the major challenges that people face there when they manage teams. So when they become sales managers. So it's not just about managing your productivity. It is also about managing your team's productivity and ensure that you and your team together meet those targets. So how do you manage big sales teams, or how do you build sales teams and manage them going forward is something that every individual should be aware of, should be geared, and when the right time comes, you can put in the right gears to make sure that it happens for you. So Rohin is here to help us understand all these insights that he brings to us with the experience that he carries. On this note, I request him to take over and share his insights as to how do you build and manage great sales teams. Over to you, Rohin.
Thanks, Madhuri, for the introductions. Good evening, Good evening, everyone. First of all, happy Diwali. And do we wait or should we start?
We can start, Rohin.
Sure. All right. Happy Diwali, folks, to all of you. Wishing you a very safe and prosperous Diwali. I would try to make this short and sweet. Let me put it like that. I would rather want this platform to be more interactive rather than just one-day Gyan session, which is never the intent. So we'll just run through a certain deck which I've prepared, but I am really looking forward to the questions that you folks have, and would be great if I am able to answer that and sort of help you on this journey of becoming a better sales professional. Right. So open to all sort of questions. Let's sort of dive in right away. I will try to set up a context. I mean, just to give, Himadri went to tell about the background and everything, but I think this topic is something which is very interesting. Larger teams, the big teams essentially have people coming from different backgrounds. There's a lot of diversity here. So it's a great opportunity. It's a great kick that one gets if you're able to get say, 100 different people in one single room and then make them run towards a common goal. There's a great kick in that. That's the kick that I get it. And equally, there's a great challenge as well. So, which is what, without further ado, we should start the deck, right? Just let me know at any point in time you feel that you have a question in mind, or feel free to sort of stop me. And if you want to go out and make a comment, please do that. As simple as that. The intent here is to make it interactive because big believer of we learn from each other. So that's the intent. Sure. I'll just share my screen. Just if anyone can sort of give me a heads up that are you able to see this or not? This is visible, right?
Yeah, it's visible, Rohin. It's just that if you can put it on a full screen, full view mode, should be fine.
Cool. All right. I will try to set up some context. As I said, I'll try to make this short and sweet. The idea here is to just look at the second and the third point. As I said, the context setting is essentially all of us at some point in time will have teams. Then there is a multiplier on that team. The teams would become big. And then there's a challenge and opportunity. How do you grow with the team? And I'm sure everyone on the call's intent is at some point in time, or some of you already would, to own a business and to run a business. So essentially, I really hope that this brings some light to that. And I really hope that this is helpful to achieve that goal.
Rohin,
the flow is... Sure.
Yeah, is it on the presentation mode? Because we really can't see the big slides in front of us.
I did. Okay. Isn't it?
Perfect. No, I think it's visible for everyone else. Surprisingly, it's not visible for me. But okay, cool. Please continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, cool. Okay, guys, I'm going to quickly run through this. The guiding principle of building and managing large teams, then the steps and key consideration that you should have while building or managing teams, and then the questions. As I said, I'm going to focus more on the questions. If you have any questions under the sky, more than happy to have a chat on that. That's the intent of the session. Let's keep that as a disclaimer that we need to learn from each other. As simple as that. Okay. This is the first piece, which is essentially... Himadri, you will have to help me mute someone if there's a disturbance, because... Or do I move out of the presentation mode and do that?
Rohin, I'll manage that. Don't worry. I'll manage that.
Done. All right. Thank you for that.
Okay.
All right. Cool. I am not gonna... all of you guys can read out what I've written, but I'm gonna in fact stress on some points here. The first and foremost thing, the guiding principle to build and manage large teams is to have a very clear objective, to have your goalpost defined. I'm too much into sports, have been associated with sports from early childhood. That's why you will see a lot of examples that will come today, probably during the course of session, will be related to sports. So if you are if you're a cricket team or if you're a football team, it's very important to know what is the goalpost, right? So the first essence is to actually clearly define the objective and purpose. That's the first call out. Second is I'm going to stress on this open communication piece, which is essentially when you have a large team, when you have a team of more than 100 plus, or say 200, 300, 400 plus people, when you have so many people in the room or in a team, the essence here is to ensure that there is no information asymmetry, and information asymmetry will only arise because of lack of communication. So one of the guiding principle again is to ensure that access to information and freedom of expression is there. The third point, which is essentially acceptance of different people, right? Diversity plays a very important role in large teams. How much ever the team is diverse, it's more helpful. So there are a lot of science and theory to this. I don't have to quote that. You can find a lot of literature on the net. But if you are surrounded by 5 people who are not looking like you, who are not thinking like you, who don't dress like you, then you're sorted for life. But if you are surrounded with 5 people who think like you, who speak like you, who dress like you, who do everything like you should need to change your group. It's as simple as that. So the diversity, that's very important as the third guiding principle. Uh, Largely the fourth point which I want to sort of anchor on is the culture, which is essentially the whole enthusiasm or the flexibility to play to each other's strength. That is again one of the guiding principles to a larger teams. What do I mean by that? Let me just give you an example. If I don't know what is the average age group of the cohort that we are speaking today, but if any one of you would have seen the 90s cricket, within the cricket team, everyone's role and responsibility was very clearly defined. So Saurabh Ganguly knew what he had to do. A Sachin Tendulkar knew what he had to do. A VVS Lakshman knew, a Rahul Dravid knew. The roles were clearly well defined. And each of them played to their strength. Hence, we had a golden team. Right? That's the essential of larger teams. That the goal post, the Uber level goal post should be defined. Then within the team, everyone's responsibility should be well defined so that there is no overstepping. And then there is no ego clashes.
Rohin, I'm so sorry I'm interjecting.
Sure.
Actually, but it's not on a presentation mode, so we can just see the agenda for the session slide.
How is that? Okay.
Possible for you to put it on the presentation mode? Yeah. This is fine. This is fine. Yeah. So now if you skip slide, we'll be able to see it. Yeah. Thanks so much. And sorry for interrupting.
No worries. No worries. Yeah. I'm just going to move on to the slides here. I mean, the next one is when you are trying to set up a team, the most important thing is to look at the structure. Again, I'm just giving you some examples. If you want, you need to create a structure where there is minimal bureaucracy, where you encourage efficiency, where you encourage agility. See, all of you guys, I mean, startups are the place where the most important thing that one knows is that tomorrow things will change. Day after tomorrow, things again will change. So when you are building up structures, you need to ensure that the structures are in a place that agility, efficiency, consistency, all should be that in place. There needs to be minimal bureaucracy. So you can't have a very big layered team. What do I mean by that? Like 5 people reporting into one, that another 5 of them reporting into one, another manager. So by the time it reaches to a national head, there are some 7, 8, 10 layers. That is not a sign of an efficient team. As most of you would know that a healthy manager to employee ratio is considered to be 1:9, 1:10. And I have also written out that define structures keeping in mind business type and market. What do I mean by that? I have been associated, say, with PhonePe. PhonePe, when we had to decide a team, we would look at the market potential of PhonePe. Since PhonePe use case is the most common use case, you can afford to have one person in a town of Udaipur. Should not be a problem. But let's suppose you are doing or you're working for BigBasket. Then that particular town of Udaipur would not make any sense for BigBasket. For BigBasket, Udaipur would make sense. So you define teams depending on your business types, depending on your market sizes. But keep this in mind, structurally, the team should not have bureaucracies. Again, larger teams, the problem is information asymmetry. This is something that I keep repeating on, and I'll keep repeating. The next most important thing for the larger sales team is recruiting and onboarding talent. This is one thing that if you ask any salesperson, this is the pain of it. If you ask any sales manager, he will say, "Our market mein there's no good talent." Right? And the idea here is not that market mein there's no good talent. Here, the idea here is that you need to be really careful about whom you are hiring, because all of the HR, all of the teams are always under pressure to backfill and get more and more people onboarded. So first and foremost important, if you are building from 0 to 1, you should first leverage your own referrals to build your first line of managers. This is what I did it personally in PhonePe. This is what I did in BigBasket. This is what I did in Swiggy. When I moved into Swiggy, I had a well-established, good team handed over to me. Now in that team also, there will be 1 or 2 loose ends. So quickly what I did is that I tried to, get my referrals up and source 1 or 2 guys into my direct line of managers so that you have more confidence in delivering the target that you have to. Second point is something that which I don't know how many sales organizations take this seriously. As I said, if you are surrounded by 5 people who speak like you, talk like you, please get out of that group. That group will not help you grow. It's as simple as that. Diversity is the key. Have a healthy mix of freshers and experience. At PhonePe, we pivoted heavily on, or we tilted heavily on hiring female sales staff. And I see some of the folks here are female. And my personal experience has been, they have been tremendous. They have been great. They were one of the top performers, mostly for all national schemes or all the regional schemes that we kept running. So it's a proven science. Surround yourself with different people, your productivity will go up. So that's the second piece. The third piece, whomsoever you hire, that person should not feel so much pinch or so much pain during onboarding. Means they should be hired on day one, or sorry, I mean, they joins us on day one. Day 4, day 5, their training should be done. And day 7th onwards, their work, they should start. Now, how does that happen? Your processes need to be simple, structured, and repeatable. So one of the core things in sales is repeat, right? As they say, salesman is someone who keeps repeating the same thing and expects for a miracle. And we all underestimate the power of repetition. And there's a huge scope for us to gain success just by repeating, right? So quick onboarding is an essence of ensuring that you are recruiting and onboarding the right talent, right? So that's now the salesman is inside the org. This is something very important for larger sales team. Setting up team and individual goals. As I said, you don't want to be a football team wherein the first 4 or the strikers are playing differently, the defenders are playing very differently, and the middle, the playmakers, they are also playing very differently. So you want the larger Uber goal to be set, and then you need to ensure that individual goals are also set. One of the things that we always tend to do is that when we do target setting, we always look at last month's achievement and then we do a target setting. Target setting, that's not the right way. Target setting is always done potential first, meaning I have to set a target for someone who handles a certain area in Bangalore for Swiggy. So for that particular area, I will just look at the number of restaurant partners in that particular area and then set up a target, rather than just telling that, okay, this individual performer did so and so number last month, let me just put 5% over the top of it, which doesn't make sense. So that is essence or 101 of target setting. Second and most important, what you don't measure will never be managed. What you don't manage, you cannot never question it. So whatever you want to question or whatever you want to manage as a manager, you first need to measure it. So very important for us to have a CRM tool, have a sales tool, wherein people can input meetings, can input their productivity, etc. Especially for larger teams. Especially if your span is more than 100 plus people in your team, a good CRM tool is a key to it. Even if you get a CRM tool, then the next challenge is to drive the adoption of CRM tool. That's very important, and hence I've put it down as a different point. The last point I've said for target setting is whenever you are, the word that you have to read out in this slide is that do not complicate targets. I have seen a lot of organizations wherein they make the life of the salesman the toughest. Actually, salesman, the last foot soldier or the last mile soldier, their life should be the easiest. We should not complicate target. They should simply know, oh, I have to do 1, 2, 3 things, end of it. That's how you drive efficiency. And for that, if you can freeze their targets for a quarter or for 2 months or for 6 months, if at all, that would be fantastic. Just to give you an example, at a Swiggy level, we freeze targets for every POC, for every salesman at a quarter level, so that they don't have this friction every month that our target. When I say target for quarter, it's essentially the different charters that each POC will drive. So within target, let's suppose there are 5 individual charters. So because I'll give you an example of say Swiggy, if my first charter is, boss, I have to get so much orders from this restaurant for this month. Next, I have to get so much revenue in terms of ads from this restaurant. So that becomes my second charter. Similarly, there would be 5-7 charters. All those charters, we try to freeze it for a quarter. We don't try to change it every month. So if some month, if I tell you, if the first month, for November, if I tell you, boss, you have to get some ad money from a restaurant partner. If December I tell you, okay, Sanjay, don't worry about the ads money. You get me a restaurant partner who's ready to change his menu item. So do not keep changing targets, right? Hence, it's always good to freeze in targets for the longer run. And as I said, do not overcomplicate targets. That's the point. At this point in time, if anyone has any questions, I can take that up, or otherwise I'll just push forward. I'll just wait for 5 seconds if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll just push forward. Cool. So I'll just push forward. This is something interesting. Yeah, this is essentially all of us here in this call or wherever we have signed up for work. It's always for money at the end of the day. I may sound a little crude and raw with that, but that's a fact of life. That's a fact of matter. You just need to find ways to keep yourself motivated every day for that goal. Rewarding or, incentives or compensation. Those are the key things here for larger sales team. You need to be clear and fair. You need to run different schemes. As we speak, we had at Swiggy, we had an IPL league which had come in wherein all of us had different points, different systems. We all competed with each other. All of us had some money to make at the end of this IPL competition. Similarly, we have something for Diwali. At BigBasket, we used to drive special days of the week to, let's suppose, I don't know whether you guys are aware of this, in retail market, they always found out that maximum of the shopping used to happen over weekends, as weekends is when families get time. So in 2001 or 2002, future retail.
There are certain payments that you make. So I'll quickly go ahead and check the account for you.
Thanks, Emadri. So in 2001, 2002, future retail or the Biryani stores, they realized that, boss, if everyone comes and shops on Saturday, Sunday, so Monday to Friday, what are my people doing? So there are too many people, but there's little work. What can we do? So what they did, they start something called as Super Wednesdays or, Big Bazaar Wednesday. That's what they called it. So this is Big Bazaar chain. So for Wednesday, they started doing deep discounting on fruits and vegetables. So that did a demand shaping. So families who would go out on Saturday, Sunday, they started going out on Wednesdays. And they made a big day around Wednesdays. So similarly, a lot of telecom companies, a lot of these startups had borrowed this idea. At BigBasket, we used to run particular days of the week where we would drive the teams to get more and more orders or their KRA. And if they are able to do it, then we'll give them, on those big days, we'll give them extra incentives. So essentially here, what is important is that an individual should know what is the size of the price. Second, it should be fair to him. And most importantly, when you're designing an incentive structure, please keep in mind fraudulent activities. This is more and more in context to the Indian markets that we operate. For example, at PhonePe, we have a large feet on street. We have close to 10,000 odd sales folks. So one of the targets of the last mile salesperson is that he needs to get PhonePe partner app download and do a test transaction of 50 rupees. And every time he is able to do that, PhonePe pays him, say, 100 rupees. So this is a bad incentive. I'm just giving you a very hypothetical example. So what will happen is that Rohin gets 100 rupees if he gets Sanjay download PhonePe partner app and do a transaction of 50 rupees. So what will Rohin do? Rohin only will give 50 rupees from his incentive. So the idea here is, please, when you are designing incentive structures, do keep in mind fraudulent activities. A good incentive structure should always be like that. I'm moving on from this slide. This is essence of the larger teams. The first point is you need structured, regular communication with your sales team. If you have a span of 100 plus people, there is no way that you can assume that everyone knows what you're thinking. So it's like your head thinks something else and your hands are thinking something else, or your legs are thinking something else. So it's very important for you to have structured regular communication with your sales team. Any larger teams, any larger big teams, they have this concept of daily stand-ups, daily structured stand-ups, wherein every day morning the team will meet. There is an information relay. Again, every day evening, when the day is ended, the team will meet for exits. The second point is to ensure that, again, the life of a salesman should be the easiest. The last mile soldier, they should be the easiest. So ensure they are not running, fighting for reports. They are getting hourly report if needed, or they are getting daily reports if needed, or they are getting weekly reports if needed. Define the reviews very, very clearly. The best reviews are the reviews where actually, if I am running a review, I would do a pop out. I don't expect anyone in my team to fill in something and come to the review. I'll just do a call out saying, ki, boss, I have done all the legwork. I have done all the homework. You just help me understand why did we drop sales in this particular zone of Bangalore on Friday. So that particular POC can then explain the reason, rather than the person making some PPT and then coming in and giving, that's all waste of time. So define crisp, clear reviews. That's very important. Encourage healthy competition. This is something that we keep speaking about. Gamification, create leagues, create national scorecards, national scoreboards, create regional leagues, make teams. Teams should compete with each other. Put a prize, put a monetary prize, put a non-monetary prize at the end of it. Like the way I just gave you an example of what Swiggy does with, say, IPL. Used to do with IPL, now with Diwali. Celebrate success. This is the most important thing, because you have a larger organization, larger 100+ odd people. The person sitting in Delhi would not know what the person in Bangalore is doing. Or let's suppose you're only south. So the person sitting in Bangalore would not know what the person in Chennai is doing. Chennai will not know what Hyderabad is doing. So create platforms where you celebrate success, even the smallest of things. Celebrating success does wonders. Can't anchor more on this. This is very important. Next is invest in culture. This is something which is very important. People generally feel that culture is something that overnight it will come. It doesn't come overnight. You'll have to keep parroting what is culture for you. What do you mean by culture? So, I always tell this, a culture is essentially what your reporting manager and your team believes. The CEO and HR will lay out always the Uber level culture, but then culture ultimately boils down to what you, your team, and your reporting manager feels. Invest in culture. It's very easy to sort of let culture slide in a large sales organization. Investing is parroting it again and again. Just to give you an example, personally for me, something which is very important is responsiveness. So this is something that at all platforms I keep talking, that in my team, if my reporting manager, if my skip manager, if my CEO puts a message to me, I would like to respond it within the next half an hour. If I'm not able to respond, I'll see a problem in me. And this is the culture I try to drive in my team. So I keep talking about this so that the team understands that, boss, if I get a message, I need to just reply in the next half an hour. It is completely okay to say that next half an hour, I just reply saying, boss, I'm in traffic or I'm driving. I'll give you a call back later. Completely okay. But this is something that it takes time. It doesn't come overnight. If Rohin doesn't speak about responsive being a culture, nothing will happen. So invest in culture, keep parroting what is important for you. The next point is something which nobody likes to do, which is essentially ensure that if you have a dead weight in a larger sales team, the problem here is to identify a dead weight, because you have 100+ folks or 200+ folks. You really don't know who is the dead weight, who is that one person who's not doing well. Hence, it's very important to go back to number point 2, that your reporting and tracking of sales metrics should be spick and span, so that you know who is the one who's dropping the guard. And that person, you need to ensure that PIP processes are very clearly defined and we are giving constant communication. Termination should never be a surprise. That's the line. You can't tell anyone overnight. That's not fair at all. You need to give communication. You need to give constant feedback, and then act harshly, unfortunately, as well, if there is no movement. Keep an eye on attrition. Bigger sales team always have this problem. Attrition, absenteeism sort of gets under the carpet when it's a larger sales team. Keep an eye on that. Do course correction as and when needed. The most important thing, if you're managing a bigger sales team, be fair. you don't have to take a popular decision. You have to take the right decision. Popular decisions may be fair. Sorry, right decisions are always fair. Popular decisions may not be fair. So it's very important to take the right decisions. This is about managing larger teams. How do you keep the folks that are within you, are within the org? How do you keep them motivated? Most importantly, you need to ensure the first point is everyone is accessible. Again, goes back to that first slide, which is let's not have bureaucracy. So the last mile person in any team should feel that I can talk to the CEO or I can talk to the NSH, the National Sales Head. So create more platforms where the voices are being heard. Create definite pathways for their career for their careers. Example, if you have joined as a TSM, you should know how quickly can I be an ASM. So your manager, they should spend time on this. ASM to RSM, those durations, those time checks, that needs to be clearly defined. It can't be like, acha, you have joined as TSM, it's been 3 years or it's 4 years and you don't have a promotion. So invest in someone's career growth. That will keep them motivated. Take feedback seriously. Any salesperson, if you ask him, the most painful thing is that, boss, nobody knows what's happening in the market. Market is operating in a different way. I am doing something different. So it's very important to ensure that whatever feedbacks are happening, out of 10 feedbacks they are giving, 1 feedback or 2 feedback are being incorporated. Timely payouts is something that these are hygiene checks, but you should do it. Incentive discrepancies. Let's suppose larger sales team have always this incentive discrepancies. So you should give a timeline, like just to quote an example, at Swiggy, between 1st to 7th or between 1st to 10th of next month, we will address all the discrepancies in terms of incentives, if at all there are, in the previous month. So you need to have more platforms. You need to ensure. And the most important thing is, if you want to keep someone motivated and if you want to keep someone engaged, just be kind and empathetic. This is the best time the world can get more kind and empathetic people. So there's never a bad time to have more kindness in the world. So wherever there's an opportunity, you should be kind, and that's something that is very important, because sales life is considerably tough compared to, say, a product or something else. It has more friction, it has more customer facing roles. And hence, it's important for all of us to be kind and empathetic. That hota hai, whatever problem we face, it's okay. We'll find a solution together. This is not like a laundry list of keeping your sales team motivated. This is what I have, at least in my experience, the last 5 slides that I showed you. In my experience, this is something that I keep doing it with my team to ensure, A, I have the right talent, B, that the right talent doesn't leave me, and C, and most important, the right talent feels that they're motivated, they're focused, and they're happy. If they're focused, motivated, and happy, my life is sorted. If they are not, my life is not sorted. Then I'll have to rework on hiring, etc., etc., etc. That's a bigger problem. So the last 5 slides is how at least I have been managing my teams. And this is one last slide before we sort of end this. The left side is what generally happens in most teams. The right side is what we should try to focus. The left side, too many egos. Because of ego, there'll be lack of communication within the bigger teams. Because of lack of communication, there'll be information asymmetry. The person in Delhi will not know what the person in Bangalore is doing, vice versa. Because it's a larger team, and if nobody is holding, the clear responsibility is not defined. If you remember the example that I gave, if Sachin Tendulkar was told that, boss, you have to do a wicket keeping as well as do batsman or be a batsman, whereas someone else is also told the same thing, then there is a problem. Then again, ego will come and there's no clear accountability definition. Third is, if you're not involved people in decision making, everyone has a right to say yes or no. Nobody likes the whole top-down approach. So you should essentially build on this to have more platforms where people can voice out, have more platforms where people can agree to disagree, and then sort of solve it amicably. Having no trust for larger teams, that's also a big go-go. So if you look at this whole slide, it's essentially it's just mirror view of each other, opposite view of each other. So a good team is someone where a good large teams are the ones where the Uber goalpost is well defined, where everyone's account, roles, responsibilities very well defined. Everyone knows what they have to do. They all work in tandem. They all work in tandem towards that common goal. That's the good team. And then you'll have to ensure, as I said, the last 5 slides just spoke about, you need to ensure that you have the right talent. How do you go about having the right talent? You need to ensure and anchor more on having the right processes in place. Have the right daily meetings, have the right sales metrics, have the right reporting measurements of metrics, have the right review settings. Invest a lot on the processes. Because if as a salesman, the thumb of rule is simple. Sales, I believe, I'm sure a lot of the folks here on this call will also believe this. Sales is a very input-oriented job. Though we are all chased for targets, outputs, etc. But sales is that one old school where you get your inputs correct, no, your output will follow. But if your input is not sorted, you might get output, might not get output. So some days, even if you don't do anything, you'll get the sales. So it's your luck, or you can say whatever it is, it's your luck or your parents' blessings or just having a good day. But if your inputs are sorted, what do I mean by input? Okay, how many meetings I do? Am I recording it in the right thing? Do I have a database? If your inputs are sorted, am I putting that X number of hours on field, X number of hours on calls? If your input are set, your output will be sorted. So that's essentially, sort of 101 of sales. But largely these were the 5 or 6 slides that I wanted to show. And I had told in the first slide that I will take 30 minutes to present. But now I've realized I have taken 26 minutes to present. So I can very happily give 4 minutes back to your life. So now is the time. If you have any questions, we sort of take that up and try to make this more interactive. Feel free to address anything and everything in any language, which is English, Hindi, whichever you feel comfortable. The idea, again, I'm stressing on is to learn from each other. Okay, I'll stop sharing and then probably come back to screen. Yes, if we have.
All right. Hi, good evening, Rohin.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Hello.
I am not able to see who's speaking. How do I do that? I'm not good with Zoom because I use Gmeet. I'm so sorry. This is Dulal, is it?
No, it's Arihant. It's Arihant. Am I visible?
Yes, sir, you are visible.
All right. So my question is, how do we encourage healthy competition in between a small sales team? So let's say 5 people.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you have to encourage healthy competition between 5, you just need to ensure that they focus on their KRAs. So, see, when it's a larger team, like let's suppose you have 100 or 200 odd people, right? Then all this incentives, all this monetary incentives, all this non-monetary incentives makes a lot of sense. If you have to encourage competition between 5 people, you just need to ensure that their roles and responsibilities are very clearly defined. And then you are, as a manager, you are doing a lot of FaceTime with each one of them, telling them what to do, what not to do. So if Arihant, if you are suppose Rohin is in Arihant's team and Sanjay is also there. So what I would expect is that Arihant spends a lot of time with Sanjay and Rohin and telling them, Sanjay, dude, you have to do this. Rohin, you have to do this. And keep calling it out, because it's a smaller team. It's easier to sort of run it more efficiently. Does that answer your question?
Got it. Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Thanks, Arihant.
Thank you, Rohin. Thank you.
Rohin, I have one question.
Yes, sir. Please tell me.
So whatever, slides which you presented,
Sure.
So this works across the industry, or is it only specific to the consumer industry you are saying? And does it works across product-based companies also, where there are salespeople are having an interaction with different departments like product teams, marketing teams?
Correct. So
How
this is more
does
true. Amriyali, this is more true for a consumer tech company. Not sure for product tech company, product per se. This is see, I made this slide basis my experience at PhonePe, BigBasket, and Swiggy, which are all consumer-led, consumer tech companies, right?
absolutely?
For a product-heavy company, this may not fly, because what will happen at a product-heavy company is that a lot of stakeholder engagement will happen. Meaning, you will do a lot of this stakeholder engagement with, as you said, product, marketing, etc. But in a heavy, large feet on street model, the salesman's average interactions per month with, say, a stakeholder like marketing, product will be very limited. Largely, they will be interacting within the same team.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Feel free to put in a comment as well. I mean, if you find that no, Rohin, this is wrong, please more than happy to have the discussion on that. Or if you feel this is right, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, hi Rohit. Vijay this side. My question is in the chat box. Please continue on that.
So you're saying, I'm just reading out Vijay for everyone's benefit. You're saying, how will you minimize the dent in team? All the company just giving memo warning letter. If you're not performing, they terminate the team. If they prove themselves in previously, give me an idea. Okay. So essentially what I understand, Vijay, you're saying that how do you ensure minimal non-performers in your team? And what happens with the non-performer? Is that what you're trying to sort of address?
Yes. Absolutely.
Sure. How do you have non-performers in your team? See, every manager's dream is not to have non-performers in team, but the reality is always different, right? Now, how do I minimize non-performers in team is essentially goes back to that simple thing. Ensure you are hiring the right person. If you have hired the wrong person also, that's cool. As long as the person's intent is there. I strongly believe if the person's intent is there, none of us, at least I for sure, can speak very confidently for myself. We are not doing any rocket science job. I am not putting a man on the moon. I am just delivering a food on the table. So these are simple jobs. Competencies are not like a big thing. So if the intent is there, you can definitely work on competency. So how do I minimize non-performer? Have the right talent, A. B, even if you have the wrong talent, no worries. If the intent is there, work with them. Keep constantly giving communication. One of the things that I feel in sales, what never happens is that nobody tells us. The only time, the joke is the only time a manager speaks is when he or she has to tell target. That is a wrong culture, or that's a wrong problem. If you constantly keep telling Vijay that if Rohin is in Vijay's team, and if Vijay keeps telling Rohin that, hey, look, every 2 days I talk to you and tell you, oh, this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong. As I said, Rohin will feel okay about it. The constant communication is important. But what generally happens is I don't know whether you sort of focus, I mean, on my slide, it was written, termination cannot happen overnight. That's a wrong thing. That's culturally, I mean, that's wrong on a lot of front. You should never do that. Constant feedback should happen. Everyone should be given a chance. And then you work towards it. See, at the end of the day, and now I'm talking more from a startup per se, we have been all hired to deliver certain level and certain amount of work. Now, if the work doesn't happen, everyone gives us certain cushion. Okay, this month it didn't happen, no problem. Take another month. But as I said, the work is not very does not demand high competency. It's just attitude and intent. And mostly sales is like that, right? It's very old school that way. That if you have the discipline to show up and to do that X amount of hours on field or on calls every day, you will be successful. By any fluke, if you are very intelligent, then your success will go off the roof. Which is, say, the case of an Elon Musk or a Steve Jobs. They just show up, right? Showing up for that 8 hours or 9 hours. That's the most important thing. I don't know. I mean, I got a little carried away or got distracted. But Vijay, does this solve, or do you want me to sort of pick up anything else?
No, it's okay. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Constant communication, Vijay. That's the idea. Thank you so much.
Hello. Rohin?
Okay. Yeah. Hi.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're on.
Myself, Adhiraj. Okay. I have one
Hi, Adhiraj.
question. Okay. I have one question. Like if you're running a startup in the form of tech and we are putting up some services, and if you want to get up the clients, so I need to ask my persons to find out the client. So what are the parameters we need to find out to get the exact client we are searching for? Because the main problem is arising by the team is that they are not getting the right clients, or they are lacking the things like finding out the clients, and so that's the problem we are facing.
Sure. So Adhiraj, the idea here is first is to define your product offering. Your client depends on what you're offering, right? Now, let me give you an example. I sell fruits. Then I should not go to a client who sells meat. Right? My product offering is fruits. So I should take it to someone who buys fruits, as simple as that. My point here is first to define what your product offering is, then to identify your market. Post identification of market is when you will probably take. Yeah, sorry, go on.
The nature of my services are UI UX designing and web development. That all web apps part that are my mainly offering. These are the two nature we are working on. So what's the main thing, and how do we actually find out the client? What's the main thing that we can find out the clients?
Correct. So you would help. Can you just help me with any example that any client that you have helped, and what exactly have you helped that client with?
By short of saying like this, like I need to find up a client. We are product we are giving a UI UX designing part, in which we used to provide some interface designing and designing a beautiful interface for a team, for whosoever is designing the things. First thing is this, and secondly, the part is like whosoever the team person is, they need to design some sort of website for themselves and some sort of web app or a software for themselves. So we design algorithms, and so design the whole product for themselves. So this is our thing. So but we are lacking the clients. We are not getting clients. So how do I get clients over that thing? That's the thing.
Okay. Let me first, I mean, in a very sort of caveat way, say that there is never a death of client there. I think clients are always there. It's essentially finding the right client, right? There are people who are still, making their. Just to give you an example, let's suppose I am someone who is, I run a startup which delivers, say, fresh vegetables to your home, and let's call my startup as Rohin startup, Rohin Fresh, and you would like to develop a UI for Rohin Fresh, right? Is my understanding correct?
Yes.
Right. Correct. How do I find Rohin? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Now, so depending on what scale, now you have to define what is Rohin. You will have to first profile. Am I looking at Rohin as an individual who does X amount of business, or am I looking at an SME who does, say, Y amount of a business? So Rohin startup is a smaller company which doesn't have a UI. Right now he's managing everything on phone. So he's probably a wannabe entrepreneur. So you'll have to identify multiple Rohins like that. Or Rohin can be one MSME, very established company like a BigBasket, who is doing some 1,000 crore ka business. Now, how do I reach out to Rohin and understand ki, boss, can I get another UI page for you, or can I create something web interactive or app interactive for you? Now, for that, you'll have to find the right decision maker. So it goes back to the same thing. First, you'll have to define what is your product, what is your use case. In this, you'll have to first define whether Rohin is an individual entrepreneur, or Rohin is an MSME. First, you'll have to define the size of it. Now, how do I find Rohin as an entrepreneur? See, all these wannabe entrepreneurs, right? Wannabe, I'm not using it in a negative context, in a very positive context. Let me say all these aspiring entrepreneurs. Wannabe sounds a little negative. All these aspiring entrepreneurs, you will find them on all these social media pages, right? Let's suppose there is someone in Koramangala in Bangalore who makes kick-ass momos. She wants to get it, or he wants to get it directly delivered to the households. Now those guys, they are running their Instagram pages. So you can use social media to identify such kind of people. But if you are eyeing a bigger tiger, say a bigger animal, which is like 100 crore company or 1,000 crore company, you should look at the listing of MSMEs and SMEs.
Okay.
You should look at list of SMEs and MSMEs, and then do a cold start with all of them. See, there's no easy way for this. What you are trying to take as they say, since your surname is Singh, so I would assume that आप हिंदी समझते हो. As they say, आप वो क्या बोलते हैं, राजस्थान में पानी ढूंढने वाला काम कर रहे हो. It is not easy at all. Though Rajasthan में right now there is good amount of water, so there's not a problem. But this is that classical statement बोलते हैं ना, हम वो desert में पानी ढूंढने वाला काम कर रहे हैं.
Context समझ में आ रहा है मुझे.
Correct. So the intent here is, if you want to eye an MSME and SME, it's a larger thing to it. But then आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि वो कितनी जल्दी, how easily they are accessible. That is all shooting in the dark, man. I mean, there's no easy way for it. But as I said, first define your segment, then take a stab at the problem. Without defining your segment, if you are taking stab at everyone, you'll end up stabbing yourself. As simple as that. And unfortunately, that is what happens with most of the aspiring entrepreneurs. I don't know whether I was able to be fair to you, the question that you asked, but
yeah, it was somewhat relatable only. So it was getting me the point I was asking. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Rohin, can I add something here?
Sure, please, by all means, sir.
Yeah. So sales, as I think Rohin has already said, the one is the prospecting, and then you need to platform. So now finding out clients is not easy, as he said. So in Rajasthan, if you have to find out water, तो आपको झीलों के शहर में जाना है, so उदयपुर जाना है, right? So you can relate, and when you reach out to one client, so then you can ask that who are the competitors or budding, and then you can reach out to rest of the client. It's not easy, I can tell you. Saying is very, very easy, but doing it is difficult. And then you have a set process for all the sales process.
Okay. Yeah, the same the thing you have talked just now. The same problem is being faced by our team. Like if you are going for some person, we are just a person, we are just a number, and like with us, there are hundreds of persons who are better than us and who are doing who have a great portfolio also. So they are having a high competition. They are giving high competition. So that's creating a huge problem for us to have a, like, it is easy to have a word, but it's hard to get over them. Being chosen as a one apart from 100.
In fact,
hi Rohan, I'm Chakravarti speaking. Oh, sorry.
The marketing guru has said that if you have the
Okay, I'll speak. Hi, I'm Chakravarti.
That means you have a bright, how you can differentiate. Hello?
Yeah, please continue. I think your voice is just, I'm sorry, Chakravarti. I mean, I think, Alex, your voice is just going on and off.
Okay. So I'll just change my place then. No, it's actually Rohin's class. But I just
no, by all means, it's not my class. That's what I said. I'm here to learn. The idea here is to learn from each other. That's the point.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that the marketing guru himself has said that if the competition is there, that means you have a bright present as well as future. So what is required is that if we can create some of the references and proof of concept. So in that, even if we don't earn much initially, but once the customer sees our product and starts saying good about us, I think it would give us a big mileage, because word of mouth is the best marketing, I think, which one can have.
Correct. Very, very, very fair. And Adhiraj, I mean, looking at you, you are very young, man. So I would just say that harp on the power of repetition, which is what sales teaches us, right? You don't have to be discouraged that I'm just saying, you don't have to be discouraged. So the idea here is that if you have a good product and you know that, see, there are two things. Either your product is equal to your competition or your product is better than your competition. And the third case, your product is not equal to your competition or it's worse than your competition. You figure out which league are you. You work on your product and just believe in the power of repetition, right? The magic happens when repetition happens.
Okay.
That's the magic,
Thank
right?
you. Okay, thank you. Sure, I will
Sorry.
have.
Sure. Thanks, Adhiraj.
Okay,
Yeah, hi,
thank you.
Chakravarti Rohin.
Yeah, hi, Chakra.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I just want to, ask one case. So I have, we sell rice. So we have a brand called SPL. So we
Okay.
used to, we have present offline as of now in different locations. We built a brand out of that. And we do deliveries to homes. Like that, we have made 3 million deliveries as of now.
Wow.
Now we are planning to, create an D2C model. We are working, in fact, so like where the same way, like rather than offline, they can book in the online. Now, when I'm taking this online, so the segmentation has been the thing which we are working now. Like, how do we, select the perfect segment for this product at any session, like as you are into, this food ordering system, and what is the role of this digital marketing in acquiring the new customers?
Okay. Okay, so both of these questions are not in the realm of my sort of experience, but I'll sort of like to take a stab at both of these questions. First is, how do I segment, right? Again, so it'll all come to what is your price point, sir? What is the price point that you're operating? Is it conventional or is it cheaper than conventional or?
As of now, what we are doing is it is right from the normal price to higher price, all, but majority purchase happens in the normal and mid. That is what experience.
So you are saying it's normal only. You are saying it's normal, right? Then what becomes your differentiating factor then? The idea here is that you are also entering into a market which is well crowded.
Yeah.
So what becomes your differentiating factor?
So when we were experiencing in offline, we have seen that there is no brand has been giving direct and consistency in the product. And we have not identified any particular value proposition, but we have added the delivery service as the value proposition compared to other as of now. But when we are going for online, now we are planning for the low GI. Like, you will get, if you eat my rice, you will be very less carbohydrate and you will be healthy compared to other rice. So that is what the new introduction we are finding.
Got it. Got it. So
like it is a low GI rice.
Got it. Now, two things, sir. I mean, now I'm just thinking out, and we can, I mean, I would drop my email ID here and we can connect offline also to understand more on this. But the idea here is that how many, we have 30, I think we have got 32 people on the call, right? How many of us in this 32 people would have a separate app to just order rice? So first and foremost, I am just trying to figure out, is the use case relevant, right? Because as you correctly said, there are so many brands who are doing this, who are selling offline, but none of these guys have got into D2C model. Probably that's by choice, not by design. Probably, I'm just saying. So first, what is the addressable market here? As I said, you should do a dipstick within 32 of us only. How many of us actually go on a separate app to order rice? No. Generally, we would like to, like I order my grocery from either Instamart or a BigBasket. Though, because I mean, I'm an ex-employee of both. So the idea here is to, of course, leverage that as well. But the logic here is that if I have to buy grocery, I'll go buy in bulk from one single platform. So first, please look at that as a problem statement. Second, if you feel then you should work around segmentation. I mean, depending on your price point and your differentiating factor. And this is in lines to your second question, which is this digital marketing has to play a role, because at the end of the day, I would assume that as a consumer, I will incur X rupees delta on delivery only if I order it for your rice. So you'll have to explain me the goodness of this, right? This whole digital media is the only way I strongly feel this has democratized media. Earlier, if somebody sitting in Guwahati has to know something about a brand in Bombay, then the only media was TV. TV, the ad slots were so costly that nobody could afford to run an ad to be seen in Guwahati. But this digital media, the likes of Instagram and the likes of Facebook or a TikTok, has just done wonders. They have democratized. That means somebody sitting in a town of Udaipur can show something to somebody sitting in Kerala. That's the power. So you should invest in that. There's no doubt in this. And I generally feel all these brands, if you look at all this D2C, it's completely personification. Now we are also getting into this era where more and more personal services will come back. Like, because there is now, everyone wants attention. So anyone who's able to give that attention and that personification, that brand wins, is my sort of personal opinion. But then I am able to very confidently answer your second question. The first question about segmentation, I am also not very sure, because I am trying to think who would actually go onto a different app to order rice. How many of us would do that? That's the first point. For starters, I was just thinking. I don't know, was I fair to your question or?
You're absolutely right. I got it. No, I just want to, give one more last question. If right? The thing is, like,
Sure,
if you
please.
see in the offline world, every street they have a rice store separately, and there are big baskets, and
Correct.
there are, D-marts and big companies, but still purchase in the rice stores, and the majority people they are preferring. And the
Correct.
second thing I want to ask is, before Zomato and Swiggy, people do really have idea of ordering, buying the food from the app, or the people really has that idea or the belief of buying through the web or app? Just clarify. I'm just asking.
Correct. So I'll take it up from the second question, which is a very fair point. I mean, before 2015, before this whole food tech companies existed, I'm not sure whether people had this idea, which is a very good thing. But right now, as I said, in your case, it's more like a crowded market. So that's why I was asking what is the differentiation, because there are already people who are delivering left, right, center to consumers. So then what will become the differentiation in an online world? That was my question. And segmentation is, of course, I'm sort of not segmentation, sorry. And the first question, if I take it, which is, there is all that's why I said, I think to the last gentleman who was asking, I just told the same thing, right? There's never death of consumers, right? I mean, there are always consumers for every sort of purchase. You're very correct. There are people who would still go out and buy it from DMart. There's people who still go for a neighborhood kirana. Online penetration is very less and is very limited, right? It's still probably only to the T1 cities of the country. So even in the next 10 years, I still feel, and why would you buy it? Okay, let me flip it. Why would you buy it from a small kirana store? Is essentially that small kirana store is giving you some personal services. The owner knows you. The owner knows your brother. He knows your wife, or he knows your father, etc. He knows your family background, etc. Now that's the personification or that personal relationship I'm talking about. Any D2C brand which is able to crack that and which is able to give that attention to an end consumer like this, they will survive. But otherwise, it will be very tough to sort of exist. So I'm just trying to now sort of, I understand where you are coming from, but I'm just sort of trying to tell you that your segmentation per se will, if you look at average demographic of someone who buys from a Swiggy or a BigBasket or a Zomato, these are all in the age group of anywhere between 18 to 40. That's your segment. If you want to get a very, direct answer, that's the segment. Now, 18 to 40 is the age group, people who are the most consumer tech. Now, PhonePe, companies like PhonePe, Paytm, they have penetrated into the older age group also. So my father is 74. He uses PhonePe, left, right, center for everything under the sky. So these use cases have penetrated, but all these food techs, they are in the age group of 18 to 40, and that becomes your segment. Now, where does the segment sit? They sit in T1. They sit in all the bigger cities. So you probably start from there. Where do those segment shop? Where do they look? They are all active on social media. So you work towards digital marketing to get their attention. It's essentially of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rohin.
Yeah. Hi, Rohin.
Hi.
Yeah, I am Manigandan. So I am coming from Chennai. So also I have completed a graduation this year. So actually my ambition is becoming a sales. So how do you become with you, sir?
How do you become a salesman? You can become a salesman today. You're already a salesman. You asked this question, so you're a salesman already, man.
Yeah, actually,
you would have to
just start the careers. So because my mother tongue is Tamil, so a little bit speaking with English.
Yeah, sure. I mean, see, the idea is language is never a challenge. Communication is, why do I say language is not a challenge? Uh, don't we have to sell anything in Tamil Nadu? We have to sell in Tamil Nadu, right? So we would require folks who understands the demographics, who speak Tamil. So there's always a opportunity there. So I mean, the question that you asked looks very simple, but I don't have a very simple answer to how do I become a salesman? You just try, as simple as that. So you have to sort of show up, take a interview, and then start from there. It's essentially show up. I mean, repetition is what keeps happening, man. I mean, the first time you talk to someone, you don't, I don't know what exactly parameter that you are looking at, but I'm just saying that sales, it all starts up by just showing up. As I said, it's pretty old school. So when I say it's old school, you just show up, you be consistent, you do it day after day, you're through. There's no rocket science.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thanks.
Hey Rohin, how are you?
All good, sir. How are you?
All well, thank you so much. I've already dropped my question on the chat, but nevertheless, I'll some context to this, right? So I work for a fintech startup. We're about 200 strong today. And effectively, the reason I said that was because we're building that kind of team that is predominantly GTM. And, today we are about 6, but we're inching towards, I don't know, probably 12 to 15 or even 20 by, end of first quarter, right? So with 6 itself, we found some challenges when it comes to, the kind of performances that are there into how they're performing and everything, right? So, but you do understand, because it's a startup, it's highly volatile, right? There is no structure in place. We're trying to define it. But in that kind of a scenario, right? So where do you place your benefit of the doubt? Meaning, do you give sales reps that opportunity for them to perform? And how long would you do that? And in that scenario, would a PIP, that's a performance improvement plan, do you think that's going to play off a huge role? If yes, why? If no, what else can I do?
Sure. Thanks, Nikhil, for the question. See, if it's a smaller team, now I'm going to tell a personal opinion. If it's a smaller team, I'm going to tilt on the side of being kind or being good, which is essentially saying, okay, can I work on this person again and again and again and again? Right? Mm-hmm. If it's a larger team, because of the largeness in the team, I would rather rely on the processes that we have built, which is essentially all the sales metrics, look at his output metrics, look at his input metrics if we have captured. Because in a smaller team, I would generally have a flavor of the person that I'm working with. Right?
Sure.
So I would know that person. I would know it's very easy to measure the intent in a smaller team. In a larger team, it's tough to measure the intent. Mm-hmm. Right? So in larger teams, I would definitely go on output. In a smaller team, I would definitely hinge on input. Now, PIP is always a very uncomfortable discussion to have with anyone. Right? But there needs to be a time check. Mm-hmm. There needs to be a time check. I don't think so. One of the things that we always end up doing in larger teams, especially, is we don't solve our problem. We just park our problem for tomorrow.
Sure.
And tomorrow we'll park it for day after tomorrow. So we are just pushing our problem.
Right.
So there has to be a time check on this. Generally, thumb of the rule, what we do, at least the organization that I have been associated, I'm sure because you're looking at that number, right? Right. We give a time of 2 months. So let's suppose the first month there's a red flag. First month, as in month 1, there's a red flag in terms of performance. Then there is additionally 2 months that we give before we roll out a PIP. Now that 2 months can be 1 month, can be 30 days, can be 15 days, depending on what you as a founder stand for, what's your vision, etc., right? Across industry also. Like I'm sure EdTech, I don't know what I hear.
It's in fintech. It's in fintech. I think I.
Right. I know. I'm just giving an example. I'm saying,
right. Sure.
What we generally do is 2 months from the month of performance drop.
Sure.
But for those 2 months, it's essentially more like a pre-PIP. Mm-hmm. And then, as I said, is pre-IP the right solution? As I'm stressing on this, I'm just telling that you can't shift your problem. You need to solve your problem.
Right.
Now you have given more than fair chances. if it's a smaller team, you can still push. You can make that 2 months as 4 months or 5 months or 6 months basis because you have a first-hand visibility on the intent.
Right.
Larger teams, the structures are defined in a way that if the performance person is not able to perform well, and there is clearly an intent issue, we sort of then move out in a span of 3 months. It's as simple as that.
Got it. And to the point which you made about the matrices that you capture when it comes to their KPIs, right? So of course we do capture it, and effectively what it is let us to discover about a particular individual is, look, on an average they are all in the same segment, right? There's a standard and they're pretty much about the standards, so no questions there. But however, the way you go to the market, right? So as a sales guy, everyone has their own particular style or persona that they carry, right? So it works for some of them, whereas it doesn't work for another person, right? So from that perspective, again, like, if I have to make decisions of the matrices that I'm capturing from my CRM or wherever it is, right? So I don't know if that's going to really help my cause, but nevertheless, thanks for those inputs. And then if there's anything else, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn and we can chat more.
Wonderful. Just that point, Nikhil, I mean, the idea here is not to force fit a person.
No, of course.
If, as you said, see, why am I saying matrices? Because in a larger organization, you will be dependent on matrices. Not every manager will have first-hand insight to the intent and to the working style of the individual, right? But if it's a smaller team, I would hinge on giving more chances, because the idea here is that as a manager, I would have a first-hand visibility. And I'm with you on this. Some people are meant for sales. Some people are not meant for sales. It's a product fitment, right? It's a product market fit, what we keep talking about, right? It's essentially that, right? I don't expect, I mean, you get like one of the best business analysts that I have worked with. I got it because he was the worst salesman for me. So he was the worst sales for me. I realized, okay, but this guy has got immense data insights. We pulled him into business analyst role, and that guy is actually, doing wonders. So it's all about that.
No, absolutely. You can't judge a monkey for swimming, right? So I completely understand.
Correct. As simple as that.
Absolutely. Sure. Thank you so much, Rohin. That certainly.
Thanks, Nikhil.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Rohin, I have a small question.
Sure.
Yeah. So when we have a team which is very big, and especially the sales team, so there are some people who are directly reporting to you, and there are some people who are there in their team. So when you have to say bring in some change, then how often you reach out to the last mile?
Sure. So I have a very thumb of rule. This is a personal opinion, sir. I essentially cover, depending on the size of team I have, I would like to cover all my team members FaceTime once in 45 days. And why do I do that is essentially say at Swiggy or at a BigBasket or at a PhonePe, I have 300 plus people. I ensure that I speak to all of them once in 45 days window, because that opens up that communication channel. And when I say speak, that's FaceTime. That's not just speaking over phone. That's just 101 FaceTime for half an hour. That creates that trust between both of us, saying, boss, okay, these doors are open. This communication can always fly through from the POC's perspective. And from my perspective, I would be more connected to the market. I would be knowing a better pulse of the market. Hence, I do this connect. Now, this can be once in 45 days for me. There's no thumb rule to it, but you need to do it depending on the size of the team. And you can make it once in 30 days, once in 45, once in 25, depending on your own bandwidth. For at least I operate in once in 45 for sure, so that the communication doors are open, and then we sort of pick up from text and chats and etc. Does that answer?
Yeah, a bit. And in fact, after Corona, to bring them face to face, a bit.
So Gmeet will also do. I would do Gmeet video on, do have a personal conversation with that person. So my teams are spread across geography. I do that. And if I can travel, fantastic, nothing like that, because a warm body interaction always does wonder and magic. But then, yeah, if you can do it over video, more than happy. I mean, I do this over video only. Mostly I do this over video.
And how, because most of the times, okay, you may be different experiences, but the sales guys, the career, most of the guys are happy doing what they are doing for long, right? Sales is like that. And the growth some of the times is limited, because if you compare it with, say, marketing or some other field or CCC
Right.
or R&D, etc. So the growth there is a bit faster. So how you make people happy here so that they do it, and to the management also you can say, because sales, I feel personally you grow, but professionally, if you want to grow, that okay, MD of the company is from sales. These are very few examples.
So I may disagree with that. I think most of a good amount of CEOs, I don't have a statistical map to that. That good number of CEOs are from business or sales background. But I understand your question completely. And at least the organizations I have been associated with, the most important thing that we have done is we have always, I don't know, in that slide also I had written, invest in the career goals. So the duration, I am joining as a TSM. I have been very clearly told, if I'm a good performing TSM for 18 months, I have a shot at ASM. If I'm a good performing ASM for 36 months, I have a shot at being an RSM. So that definition or that clarity is given on day 0 to me. And that's a sign of a good organization, and the organizations that I have been associated with, the signs are very clear. So I would always, harper on this thing, boss, you join us, your career path is well set. You don't have to really worry that after 18 months, you are thinking that, boss, main aage kya karu? It's very well set. If you're a performer, it's very well set. Now, there might be scenarios where it's not so well set. That is where the whole friction will come. And that is where we'll have to, as an organization or as an entrepreneur, we just need to ensure that it's very well defined. Generally, people don't define it. That's the problem. And hence all the friction comes in. Do you agree, or do you have a different point of view in this?
No. I agree from the point of view of the industries which we are talking. But
sure.
I'm talking of more from the point of view of the what we call the engineering industry. What do I say? Which are older kind of industry.
Got it. Yeah, there. I'm so sorry. I haven't. Though I'm trained as an engineer, but I have not worked in the core engineering. So I understand there. Yeah, you will have to probably look at. I get your reference that you are saying that if I'm a plant engineer for 2 years and, or if I'm a salesman for a hardware company, how do I actually climb up the ladder? And there is very limited opportunities for me.
Yeah, I'll connect with you separately, maybe, Rohin, because
more than happy to do that.
We'll share, I think, points. I'm a successful sales guy, I can say, and a sales manager.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But I am asking this question for the people who are there, because you have to attract also the talent in sales.
Correct.
So that is what actually my worries. Yeah.
No, I understand. So my only thing is that I have only worked in companies which are heavily consumer tech. There, the roles and clarities are very well defined, and that's a good thing about probably being associated with consumer tech startups, right?
Yeah.
Where it's very clearly told on day 0 that what will happen to me on day 365 and day 720 if I do well.
Thank you, Rohin.
Thank you. Sanjay, how do we, Himadri, Sanjay, or have we sort of, there were just a couple of questions, I think, in chat. Do you want me to take up, or I've already overshoot time also?
Sure, Rohin, you can go ahead and take those questions. Though most of them did actually ask those questions in person as well.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think, is there anything which is left unaddressed? I'll more than happy to take it. Otherwise, I don't want to hold people on a Diwali weekend.
Yeah, I know. Same is the case with us. I think most of the questions are taken, but I think there's one question maybe you would want to quickly answer that. What key parameters do you look for sales onboarding? Is this the subject knowledge or the skill sets or prior experience in the same industry?
Sure. Very quick answer. Yeah. Look for the companies that I am associated and I am working with. I just completely look at intent. I'm pretty old school in that. As I said, at least the job that I do, I'm not doing any rocket science. I'm not putting a man on the moon. I just want people who have right intent. How do I measure intent? I give situational based questions. Along with intent, I just look at basic data skill sets. As in when I say data, the way you think about a problem statement. and there are certain, very popular riddles around it. I tend to look at that. Intent plus a data orientation solves for it, until it's a hardcore technical job, right? Like the gentleman that I was just speaking to. If you want to be a plant engineer in a automobile company in Gujarat, then it's a very technical interview that has to happen. At least for the jobs that I'm hiring or I've hired, and I have been associated with. These are the larger things, which is essentially intent and the general approach to a problem statement. What happens when a problem comes in? What do you do? How do you think? I hope that that was the right answer, Abhilash, or that answered your question rightly.
Yep.
Let me put it like that.
So guys, in case if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask any other question that you guys have for Rohin. No, I think we're done with the set of questions, Rohin, and thank you so much. And we would also not want to hold you guys back, considering it's festival season and especially Dhanteras being today. So no more questions, guys. So thank you so much, Rohin, for taking out time over the weekend to address us with the questions and sharing your thoughts and insights as to how do you build and manage great sales teams. And thank you everyone for being part of this, and happy Diwali in advance. Have a safe and happy Diwali with your family and friends. Great. Thank you so much. And we'll connect next Saturday for the masterclass. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Rohin. Thanks, Samadri.
Thanks, guys.
Guys. Happy Diwali. Take care.
Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
Yeah, cheers.
Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.